I am Will Salas. Living in this world, if you don't hurry, you will die too soon. This is the year 2169, and humans are no longer aging naturally. After the age of 25, our bodies no longer age, and time becomes the only measure of life. At that moment, a green countdown will appear on your arm, counting down from 1 year of life. To survive, you have to earn time. It is our currency, the only guarantee of survival, and the shackles that weigh on our heads. We use time as currency, trading minutes and seconds for survival. I live on the bottom rung of the ghetto, with my mother, Rachel, in an apartment that is almost forgotten by time. We race against the clock every day. We live not years, but seconds. I tried my best to keep my job, working with Borrell in the factory to make ends meet. But the company often made excuses to deduct our wages, sometimes not even for a full day. I wanted to earn more by time fighting, but my mother wouldn't let me. She said, "No one can live long on this, but even with life, I can't stand by and watch others." Maya, the little girl on the corner, I used to give her a few minutes so she could last an extra day, not because I'm rich, just because I know what it's like to die. That night, I went to the bar where I used to gamble to find someone to collect an hour's debt, but accidentally bumped into Borrell, who was being offered a drink by a man who looked crazy. The man was called Henry, and he had a whole century left on his arm. I wondered, how could a rich man of this level come to us? I kindly reminded him to be careful of those guys who were running out of time, but he didn't listen. Sure enough, gang boss Fortis came and asked Henry to play for time. The crowd dispersed, and I hid behind. Henry said he wanted to go to the toilet, but only one person followed. I saw my chance to take down the man, and escaped through the back door with Henry. We ran to an abandoned factory, and I locked the door. It was safe. I asked him why he was courting death, and he said he was 105 years old, and had lived enough. I said it was a stupid idea, but he laughed, and called me naive. He told me that the high cost of living in the slums was designed to keep us dying, so that the rich could live forever. That night, I fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, he was gone, leaving only a message on the window. I looked at the number on my arm. He gave me everything he had. I rushed to the bridge and saw him sitting there, time 0, dying quietly. I didn't notice that there was a surveillance camera there, and I only escaped after confirming that he was dead. Then I went to Borrell and gave him 10 years. We are brothers for 10 years, and he deserves it. But fate never gives people time to breathe. My mother took the bus home in the afternoon, but the fare went up temporarily. She didn't have enough time, so she had to walk home. The 2-hour journey, she only had 1.5 hours left. I rushed out immediately after I found out. We met on the street, and she threw herself into my arms, but it was already too late. She died in my arms, and the time in her hands returned to 0. I swear I will avenge her. I put on a suit, pretended to be rich, tricked a car, and traveled through time zone after time zone, paying higher and higher tolls until I reached New Greenwich. There, everything was a brilliant waste of time, and I used the time Henry gave me to check into the most luxurious hotel, which caught the attention of the socialite Sylvia. While eating at the hotel restaurant, a waitress kindly reminded me that I didn't dress decently enough and that I had to pay attention to my appearance if I wanted to go to the casino. I complied, changed into a suit, and entered the casino. The door asked me to volunteer for a year, and I didn't hesitate. At the gambling table, I made an all-out bet on Wes, Sylvia's father, a financial tycoon who controlled the entire time system, and won. He noticed me and invited me to a party at his house. The next day, I went in my new luxury car. At the party, Sylvia invited me to dance, and we talked about the lives of the poor and the rich. She said she envied the freedom of the poor, and for the first time, I saw the hypocrisy and emptiness of the upper class. We swam together, sneaked away, laughed in beaches and caves, as if we were briefly back to being human, but reality pulled me back again. The casino car purchase records exposed me, and the timekeeper came to my door. I was taken to a private office for interrogation. I told them that Henry had voluntarily let me take the time, and even chose to return to 0 to die, but they didn't believe it at all. They didn't want to hear the truth, they just wanted to maintain the status quo. They took almost all of my time, leaving only 2 hours, enough for me to register and go through the process. Leon, the guard chief, said I reminded me of his father. I can barely remember what my father looked like, but it still gave me a moment's surprise. Just then, Wes and Sylvia walked in. I knew my chance was coming. While they were distracted, I knocked down the guard, grabbed a gun, took Sylvia hostage, and rushed out the back door. I fled in my car, and Leon himself came after me. His car hit the back of my car, and I skidded uncontrollably. Just about to hit the truck, I slammed in the direction, barely avoiding it. He wasn't so lucky, and hit it directly. I took advantage of the chaos to escape. On the way back to the ghetto, I asked Sylvia for some time, but she refused. We got to the bridge, and I was watching the roadside cameras when the car gave a jolt. There was spike tape on the ground. The tire burst, the car rolled over against the railing, and Sylvia and I were both unconscious. When I woke up, it was eerily quiet all around, and I realized that we had been found by Fortis gang. They were starting to suck Sylvia's time away. I struggled to get up, but there was nothing I could do. Fortunately, the time guard's siren interrupted everything, and the gang ran away, leaving Sylvia with only half an hour left. She panicked and begged me to help her. I mocked her for finally knowing what sharing was, but still gave her a little time. We went to my friend Burrell's house for help, but his girlfriend Greta opened the door and told us that Burrell had died of alcoholism and had 9 years left. Sylvia looked even more uneasy. I noticed the earrings on her ears, which can be exchanged for a lot of time in the ghetto. I took her to the pawn shop. The owner wanted to close the door at first. Seeing that the earrings were so expensive, they were finally willing to trade, but we were in a hurry and ended up changing them for only 2 days. I took her to the phone booth, dialed her home number, and called Leon. I told him that if they wanted Sylvia alive, they had to redeem her for 1,000 years, and they had to distribute it to Timeline, which was a relief organization in the ghetto. Leon, in turn, warned me that I was becoming more and more like my father. It turned out that my father didn't die in a time struggle, but was killed while doing something more dangerous. I hung up the phone. Leon informed Wes about the ransom, but Wes refused to even give the change. I took Sylvia back to my house for the night. She changed into my mom Rachel's old clothes. We talked about our fathers. My father was a great time fighter and taught me all the tricks. To prove it, I pulled Sylvia to demonstrate. He taught me to pretend defeat, let opponents miss, and then fight back at the last minute. As a child, I always thought he died in a fight, but now I think he might have been killed by sharing the time he had won. We talked about my 25th birthday. I woke up on the street that day. My family was in debt, and I almost didn't make it through the year. And she woke up in a soft bed, and her father gave her 10 years as a gift. The two worlds were completely different. The next morning, I looked through the window at the Timeline and saw that they had not received any donations. That meant Wes refused to pay the ransom. Sylvia's eyes changed in an instant, and she finally saw that her father's supposed wealth was paid for by other people's lives. I persuaded her to go home, but she refused. She said she would stay and do it with me. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone in the fight. She wanted to call back. I gave her a gun and told her to protect herself. I hid in the corner and waited for her to call. Wes didn't respond to Sylvia's scolding, only alerting the guards that they were coming. Leon appeared and approached me, and Sylvia shot decisively, hitting him in the arm. I took the opportunity to check Leon's timer. He didn't have much time on him either. It was then that I realized that the guards' time was strictly controlled to prevent them from embezzling. So I instead turned some time to Leon so that his companions could come to his rescue. But we drove away Leon's car. Leon walked back to the city and was scolded as an umbrella company for the rich and never protected the weak when his companions came to his rescue. Inspired by Sylvia's reminder that we couldn't keep driving the police car, I stopped the car as a time guard, grabbed a rich lady's earrings and time, left her with only 1 day, and drove away. We took refuge in a shabby house in the suburbs and read the news to find that we were wanted criminals. I persuaded her to go home, but she refused, saying it was the first time she felt she was doing the right thing. At the same time, Weiss lies to investors that everything is under control. Leon says it is no longer a kidnapping, and Sylvia has become an accomplice. Weiss tries to buy Leon, but is rejected. Sylvia asked me if I would share if I had a lot of time. I said sure. She came up with a plan. We robbed West's vault car, crashed our car into the time bank, stole a bunch of time capsules, and left the rest of our time to the ghettos. When the guards arrived, there was nothing left. In the evening, I left a time capsule for Greta as an apology to Burrell. I also went to visit Maya, the girl sleeping on the street, and gave her time. The social time system is collapsing. Sylvia and I kept robbing Time Bank, and we were in the news. Wes began to wonder if his daughter was trying to kill him. Leon found our apartment and was going to arrest us, but he didn't expect me to intercept the radio ahead of time and jump out of the window with Sylvia. Leon followed, and during the shootout, we ducked into the bus, bribed the driver, and managed to escape. A few hours later, we booked all the rooms in a hotel and let the front desk keep it a secret. Unfortunately, it was still recognized. Fortis broke in with someone. He said he had been part of the rules and was now restoring order. He challenged me to time fight. I used the tricks my father taught me, and when he let down his guard, I managed to fight back successfully. He fell to the ground. We shot down the other gang members, and by the time the guards arrived, we had disappeared. The next day, we infiltrated Wes's office. I held him hostage to open the safe and take out the 1,000,000 years. He warned us that it would destroy the system. I told him that's the purpose. We fled the scene and locked him in his office. The bridge was blocked. Leon came after them. They fired. I rushed across the border, gave Maya time, and pretended to surrender. Leon came quickly with a triumphant sneer on his face. He thought he had finally succeeded. But the next second, the indicator light of the time relief station changed. Liang was stunned. He turned around and saw that the blockade behind him was being broken, and figures swarmed from the poor area like a flood into the wealthy area. The crowd flooded the road and his line of sight. I took the opportunity to pull Sylvia through the crowd and blend into the chaos. Liang caught up with us and said I was harming people. I told him we only had a few minutes left. He looked down and saw that he was almost back to zero because he forgot to receive his salary. He died in front of me. Sylvia and I only had a few seconds left. Suddenly, I had an idea. I rushed to the guard car to retrieve time, ran back to share it with her, and we finally escaped death. In the company, no one listens to Wes anymore. People across the country are fleeing New Greenwich. The system is about to collapse. We haven't been caught yet and are planning bigger goals to completely disrupt the old order. This is the true revolution of time.